I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Tonight's meeting will be mostly, Tonight's meeting will be mostly the public's meeting. So we will allow public speakers. You'll have 2 minutes. There's a sign-up sheet at the podium. If you would sign up, please, so that we know the order of... Thank you, Karen. And we'll have a short meeting for the committee just to present a couple of findings, and then we'll turn it over to the public. I'd like to read something, the summary of the findings. This is something the committee had asked for. So the summary of findings, which are common themes from community workshops and survey responses, are: 1, the property can serve as a destination for local talent and arts. 2, improved/increased accessibility to the site is needed. And 3, host events, festivals, concerts for the short term on the site. Potential opportunities presented by the site are: opportunity for the town to develop a local and/or regional attraction, ability to address various community needs outlined in the workshops and online survey. The town can link property to other areas of town through the greenway and the complete streets, allowing better pedestrian access. Another question that several members of the committee asked were, what were these other categories? What did these categories include? Some of them were mentioned, but they weren't included in what we would call the bucket of that category. So some of the examples of themes mentioned in the other category, which did not have a broad consensus, are: organization structure, research other venues, remove politics, engage arts community, and inclusiveness. The second is financing, donations, celebrities/benefactors, insurance money. Future planning, hire planning/design firm, promote places, projects. Short-term and long-term uses, needs assessments, festivals, fairs, events for the long term. Local arts involvement, incorporate other interests, universities, and colleges. Unless there's any questions from the task force, I'm going to turn it over to the public.
The first name is Paula Sweely. Good evening. When the talking about the use of the space started, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, now Square One Theater, to which I have belonged for 20 plus years, I've been a subscriber for 20 plus years, could have a home. And that's one of the things that I really hope for, is that there could be a theater there where Square One, for their 3 productions that they do each year, would have a place. Those of us who are longtime subscribers felt like the old movie theater down in the center was our home, and that's where I had always gone for the 3 productions a year. And then when the Masons took it back, and Tom and Richard had to go out looking for a place and finally ended up at the Stratford Academy, they adapted really well but it's not the same as having your own place. And that is really what I would love to see, among other things. I could see a place for various art groups to have their work displayed, you know, on a revolving basis. And you just mentioned a whole ton of things. I mean, I imagine when it happens that it's going to take a while to work into exactly how it's used, but I think Square One really deserves a place. I feel like it's one of the crown jewels of Stratford. We have a theater history, and we have the volunteers and the leaders of the theater just put their blood, sweat, and tears into doing this and have done so for many, many years. And I think it's a great asset to our town.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Yes, I do have a timer. When we hear the little, yes. Okay. The next name is Lynn Muniz.
So that beep you hear will be the 2-minute beep, so try to adhere to that as best you can. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. Hi, my name is Lynn Muniz. I guess I just want to know what the next plan of action is for this. When I was at one of the meetings, I guess at the school, someone in our group had mentioned putting the farmers market at the Shakespeare Theater, which I thought was an excellent idea. We have tons of parking and tons of space. I don't know if we have electricity there, but I'm sure that an electrician could get that going. And I think it would help bring some interest to that area. But so I guess I just would like to know what the next plan of attack is for the space. Thank you.
Tom Evans?
Hi, everybody. My name is Tom Evans. I live on Main Street. Hi, Mary. How are you? Thank you, first of all, for everything you guys are doing. I know this is a lot of time, and we appreciate the commitment. I am here representing the Phoenix Festival, the Stratford Arts and Culture Festival that the town puts on as part of Celebrate Stratford. Is allying with some of us from town to have the 2019 Phoenix Festival on the grounds September 7th and 8th. And we're extremely excited about the opportunity for that, so thank you all for providing that. We're going to have probably about 25 to 30 different acts performing at the grounds over the course of the weekend. And we're going to have some pretty high-profile shows as part of that. We're going to have everything: theater, music, dance, classes. We're going to have artisans and artisan village. We're just really trying to remind people of how important the site can be as a destination for the arts in the area. And that brings us to, long-term, what we'd like to talk about is really sort of a global vision for the space. I heard you guys mention a few of those things as you were talking through that. We have a lot of great contacts throughout the country who specialize in destination theater, the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, Utah, et cetera, and the Old Globe in San Diego, which is really kind of the top one to talk about because it's not just a Shakespeare place, right? A lot of people in town don't care about Shakespeare, let's be honest. But what they do care about is Main Street and economic development. And the right project at the Shakespeare Theater could truly transform Main Street for this town. I think we'd all like to see more consistent shops staying open, restaurants being more populated and full, and the arts can bring that in a variety of different ways. So I'm just excited. I moved to town about 2 years ago. I live on Main Street, so it's very important to me. I'm sorry that I haven't had a chance to catch up with you guys until now, but I'd love to have more opportunities to get in front of the group and talk to you about some of the consultants that we've been speaking to who may potentially be able to come to town and give us a sense of what we have on our hands here. We have been blessed, I'll get back to that, had somebody come into town this weekend who really had some amazing visions for us. So I'd love to share them with you when we have an opportunity. But thank you all for your time.
Mitzi Antezo?
Mitzi Antezo, 367 Windsor Avenue. I attended two of the groups, one, of course, at the Senior Center, and one up at Booth. I also reviewed all of the pages that you guys issued about the questions and so forth. I'll tell you what stood out to me was opportunity for local and regional attraction. And that says to me, we need a building. Hopefully a theater, but maybe a multi-purpose theater that not only would have plays, and I'm sorry, Mr. Phoenix, whoever you are, I like Shakespeare, but but it could also be a place for concerts, music festivals, dance festivals, art shows, movie festivals. Movie festivals have gotten to be very popular lately. So if you had a multi-purpose, but concentrate on theater and make sure, especially for the purpose of play and music, that you have good, as a matter of fact, excellent acoustics. This room does not have good acoustics. And the reason I think we should have a permanent building is that you can do presentations year-round. It's nice to have things in the summer, but you're severely limited. And I don't think plays do too well outside. I'd like to see, you know, maybe Mighty Quinn could be indoors. I'd love to see one of their presentations indoors. But thank you. Remember, opportunity is what we're looking for, local and regional attraction.
Thank you.
Oops. There.
Rosemary Martin Haydock?
Good evening, panel. I'm Rosemary Martin Haydock, residing at 401 Hilltop Drive, Stratford. Property owner in Stratford since 1974, when the Shakespeare Theater lured me here. And here I stay, still in the name of Shakespeare. So I'm here to talk about the Stratfords of the World organization. You've heard me speak of it before, a consortium of 6 Stratfords on 3 continents. The organization was started with our alliance with our Stratford neighbor to the north in Ontario and our Stratford neighbor across the pond, Stratford upon Avon. Since then, Stratford Taranaki, New Zealand, Stratford Victoria, Australia, and Stratford Prince Edward Island have joined the consortium. And our mission, of course, is global friendship and the promotion of arts and culture in our Stratfords. So all of our Stratford neighbors are very busy making money, bringing tourists, and having fun in the name of Shakespeare. And I just want to point that out to you again, as I do every time I come to the podium. But I brought with me today something interesting. This is a marketing flyer that I received for the annual Shakespeare Festival, our 2-week annual Shakespeare on the River Festival, featuring live theater, dance, roaming performances, medieval banquet, and traditional village fair, F-A-I-R-E, and Market Day starts late April. Can you guess which Stratford that is if it starts in late April? Yes, that's true. Stratford, Victoria, Australia. Population 2,612 residents as of the last census. And they are able to mount and see a successful Shakespeare festival in their town every year, to the point where it has to go for 2 years. So here's what I say. I say, when in Rome, this is Stratford. Good night.
Karen Rodia?
Hi, Karen Rodia, 2115 Cut Spring Road. I want to thank you all for doing such a marvelous job on this task force. You really, really have done a good job. And I thank you for that. I would like to echo Mitzi's opportunity statement. And I want our Phoenix to rise. It needs to rise. Without it, we have no cultural enhancement for our families here or to bring families here. We really need our Phoenix to rise. People are interested, and it's not just here in town, it's people around the country and around the world want our Phoenix to rise. So I hope that you all take that to heart and take advantage of the opportunity that is before us, because it is a huge opportunity for our community to put itself on the map once again. Thank you so much, and what job well done. Keep up the good work.
Kevin Moore?
Hello, everybody. First thing I want to say is I want to thank you all for all of your hard work. And I also want to thank you for your transparency. And I also want to thank you for keeping us updated with the things that are happening here. I think some of the main problems in the past with trying to resurrect the theater as it was in the previously was the fact that a lot of folks didn't know what was going on behind the closed doors. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity, and you guys have grasped onto that to give us an open door to be able to talk to you as well as you have. I'm kind of disheartened that there's not a packed house, because they sure were packed houses at every forum that you had. And I'm hoping that possibly that this same open door and transparency, and for people to have the opportunity to talk like we have here, that's going to continue on with people who've been able to do it other than, let's say they, it's just right after the 4th of July, they're tired, it's that, holiday weekend, and, maybe they just couldn't make it from work today. But hopefully you can have an opportunity to have people speak their minds like we are here, and to give you the applause that you deserve, and to do that all another way like you did with asking us online to give the questions and answer your questions. All right, so I appreciate that. I reiterate everything as far as the open, the multi-use venue. I think we're maybe just as exactly what we need here. So thank you guys for your hard work. Appreciate it.
If anybody who would like to speak that has not signed up, now's the time. Come on up.
Good evening, Diana Kunkel from 525 Harvard Avenue. I was to 2 forum meetings as well at the Baldwin Center and at Booth Memorial Park. I have just a few comments and reflections of my thinking after those meetings. Since this is the Stratford Task Force Committee, my hope is that they keep the word Stratford in the name of the theater. At these meetings, I also heard the question, what makes Stratford unique? One thing was its history. 1639. One thing was the Stratford Theater. There we go with our history. Let's continue it. Let's continue the love of theater and for the arts. Now, in Stratford today, we have 2 outstanding theater groups. One is Square One Theater. Many of us are subscribers. They do an outstanding job. They need a home. Another arts is the vocal group, Stratford Sister Cities Chorus. They're getting better known. We have excellent leadership. We need a home. when I was down at the Shakespeare grounds for the videotaping. I was impressed with all the young children from our art centers, our gymnastic groups, who were performing on the grounds. Well, they need a home. They're going to Milford for their shows and their recitals. Why don't we keep them in Stratford? So in conclusion, my thing is keep the name, support Shakespeare. We can still have Shakespeare plays, 2 times a year. They have them at the library. Keep the arts here, support what we have, and continue bringing in new, interesting groups. Thank you.
One more sign up. Barbara Heimlich.
Barbara Heimlich, 91 College Street. We don't have to reinvent the wheel in our thinking of what to do for the Shakespeare property. For starters, let's remember that the Shakespeare Theater was not built and paid for by the town of Stratford. It was a vision by artists who lived here, who formed a board and raised money to build a theater on town property, which they then leased from the town. There are other communities that have worked before us, and we have an opportunity to not only revitalize the arts community in Stratford, but once again to make us a destination by looking at what others have done. The Parsons Center in Milford. It was a former high school. It seats 950 people. It supports all genres, and it's not run by the town of Milford. Westport Arts Center. It's a nonprofit organization. They've been connecting the community through the arts for more than 47 years and reach more than 11,000 people annually through arts and education. My favorite is that their arts education and outreach programs are target children and teens 2 through 18, reach over 4,000 students through classes, workshops, family programs, and school field trips. They have room for 200 standing and 100 seating. Seabury Center, located in the old Christ and Holy Trinity Church in Westport, is a performing arts venue that seats 200. It's owned by the church and rented out. The Rowayton Civic Association was created in 1911 and brings cultural and educational revenues to residents. They have concerts, theater events, Easter egg hunts, etc. The Levitt Pavilion for the Performing Arts, one that is internationally known, was founded in 1973, and every summer they offer some 60 free arts and entertainment, and they are run and directed by a chairman and governing committee. Thank you.
Greg Can.
Hello, everyone. Greg Can at 234 Klondike Street. I'm very encouraged by the breadth of economic development and infrastructure improvements the town is doing, and I'm sure you see this property as a clear spoke in the wheel, an essential to get us rolling into the future. I want to thank you for your work, and I want to recognize the importance of partnerships with arts and community groups. We had the speaker who referred to Square One, long-term investment. More recently, we have Stratford, the Phoenix Festival, and their partnership with the town of Stratford. And we have many I've heard that we have many theater and arts professionals who reside in the town of Stratford who want to contribute their skills to this endeavor and generally the promotion of arts in our town. I hope the organization, which is formed for the long-term development of the property and the programming for that property, remains highly encouraging to these groups who've been, in a sense, waiting in the wings, so to speak. Thank you.
Steve Raguskas.
I'm Steve Raguskas. I live at 94 Noble Street. I was signing up as Barbara Heimlich spoke, and I need to just second a lot of what she said. because we need to look at what's worked in other places. I keep hearing about the town shouldn't be spending money and the town doesn't have money to run a theater, but that's not how it's done. All the examples she gave were run by nonprofits, and they make money for their towns and cities that they're in. And that's what we need to be looking at here. We need to find a good board of directors that have connections throughout Fairfield County and can raise money and can build a year-round building that will have concerts, plays, art exhibits, photography exhibits, things out on the lawn during the summertime, because that's one of the most beautiful spots in the state. And we need to take advantage of that because we're Stratford, and we need to have a Shakespeare play there once a year, I believe, because we're Stratford. Other than that, I do want to thank each of you for your work here. I really appreciate what you're doing, and I hope that we as a community can come together and find the people to make this happen and make Stratford a tourist destination again, because we used to be, and we can be again. Thank you.
Okay, I have two comments. Number one, Kevin, we are encouraged by not having a lot of people because we feel that we gave them enough information to judge this. And number two, to Lynn, the next step, I'll just give you broad strokes. I'm not going to get into details, but this committee will give the results to the RDA committee. Then that committee will decide what they will do, whether it's an RFQ or FP, and ultimately it'll go to the council for approval, but there's other steps within that. That's basically the broad strokes of it.
Could you go over what those letters stand for? That you just cited the different...
I'm sorry. The RDA is the redevelopment agency in town. I happen to be a member. I'm the liaisons between this committee and that committee.
And what's RFQ?
A request for proposal, and the other one is request for qualifications, RFQ, and P is proposal. I'm sorry, I used the just the letters. Thank you for pointing it out. Based on what this committee has done and what the RDA committee has done in the past, and with the impetus of the mayor, I don't think it's going to get lost in the sauce. Okay.
Everybody put in their time to come to our community meetings, and we understand the commitment and the interest that our community has, and we'll keep everyone apprised.
May I make a comment also? It was brought out before, and I didn't bring it out, but nonprofit is the way to go, and the whole reason that the stuff got hung up for years was we always waited for the council who said we're not going to spend money, and nonprofits setup is what we need to do. And I don't see where what this gentleman, the chairman, said fits into that.
Yeah, if they're a nonprofit, they still have to be qualified. They still have to qualify to be able to do it.
Just to help explain some of the acronyms, towns typically use request for qualifications or request for proposal, the RFQ and RFP process, as a means of doing outreach to identify qualified organizations or firms to achieve, whatever project it is the town wants to achieve. So that's the typical process that towns go through to identify, prospective entities, developers, nonprofits, whatever it is that's identified to achieve the purpose that they're attempting to achieve. So that's what the chairman was speaking about. And in that process, if the consensus is that it's important to have a nonprofit, maybe there's an RFQ or an RFP to have qualified nonprofits respond with proposals to develop the Shakespeare property to meet the goals that have been identified. So all of these things I think are possible, and that's part of the next step, as I understand it, that the redevelopment agency will look at. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. One more question?
Keeping us informed, as you suggested, is very, very appreciated and very appropriate. But as we progress forward and get to the next steps, how much more opportunity will there be for public input as we get to, as we define the usages and potential construction, et cetera, et cetera? Will there be public input available at those junctures?
All the meetings will be public, if that's what you're asking. There will be a public session in any of the committee meetings.
Where we as the public can have input, not just be...
Well, we haven't set that up, but I'm assuming that we'll continue keeping everybody informed within the town's website, just as we're doing now, and we'll just keep updating that website as things...
The feedback, in other words, the commentary from, or input from this side of the room, not just simply receiving information, but being able to have input at those points in time. Again, when we're talking about usages and construction, and we're getting that dialed in. My hope being that that's not behind closed doors, and that we can comment and have suggestions as it goes, as it develops.
Susmitha, could you answer?
Yes, so to answer your question, if you know, you may be already aware that the town has so many processes in place, like the Planning Commission, the Zoning Commission, the Zoning Board of Appeals. We have Economic Development Commission, we have Redevelopment Agency. All these commissions and boards are a way for the public to come participate, offer their input, and comment or critique on any proposals that are put forward. So if an RFP or an RFQ is put out and if somebody has to be selected, I'm sure the town would put together a committee that probably includes some of the task force members or the staff to interview them. But once somebody is chosen, they would be requested, like any other municipality does, to keep the public abreast about the development of a plan or proposal. And this is a typical planning process. Planning processes are very democratic, and it's not like, decisions are made and, they're just built right away. Mm-hmm.
Seeing no more questions, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry. Any final comments from the task members? Eddie?
Yes, thank you. What little I know about it, I would highly recommend. I've been through so many of these RFPs and RFQs from the town. I don't know who wrote them from the town. And a lot of the times in the past history is that the council wouldn't even follow what the RFP or RFQ said. I mean, we can go on and on with this. My suggestion for me, what I'm hearing and seeing is to hire a reputable theater consultant to walk us through these steps to make sure that we're doing them correctly.
Frank?
The town has to hire a theater consultant. It would come out of the town's money, and they lead us through the process, and they say what's good and what's bad and how the money's going to be raised, and everything is laid out.
Okay, I think we're getting a little bit out of the scope of our committee, but if there's any other comments.
Thank you. So we've heard it last time, we heard it again tonight. The opportunity is there for something great, maybe even to go on that property there. We just have to find the right balance of things. Who's going to fund it, and who's going to operate it for the long term? Okay, not just a blip on the screen and then it's going to fade away. We want something that's going to last, something that the market will allow it to last. Hearing a lot of comments from the online survey, from the workshops, there's been a lot of positive feedback. I haven't heard anything negative. So that's a good sign, at least so far, nothing negative. So hopefully we'll just keep it positive and go forward with it and get something going there. Thanks.
The chairs are I'm so short. I wanted to say thank you for coming out and for taking an active role in your comments for the Shakespeare property. Your participation and comments have been so valuable to this process, and I wanted to say thank you to you. And I also wanted to say thank you to the mayor. It's been a privilege to serve on this committee with such conscientious committee members. So thank you.
I just had a question for Sasmita. In the market analysis aspect you talked about last time, where would that fit into the next steps?
So I'm really not sure if the next step would be market analysis or if it would be an RFP, RFQ issued by the town to select a consultant or a developer who comes in with expertise to do market analysis and present ideas. So that's something that the RDA must decide and the council must decide, and it's not left to an individual decision there.
Yeah, I want to second actually what Eddie said, even though that's not for us to decide as a committee. The devil's in the details and how these things get accomplished. And we really do need expertise in crafting the proper kind of RFQ, for instance, request for qualifications that will identify who our partner would be in moving forward. So I just want to reinforce that notion since it's been raised. And it's something that, again, I think, as we've heard from the public tonight, the transparency and opportunity for community input throughout the process going forward is really going to be critical to maintaining the kind of consensus we've already seen. So, thank you.
Hang on. Yeah, I think that if I could just echo those sentiments, and we've done a great job so far, actually, at what's going on. I've been tremendously transparent, and everyone's answering the questions, and this has been great. I think, each step, it's just so important that we go off on the right foot. We have so far, and I think we need to continue, to do that. The point person leading the next step when, you and Tony are down, it's going to be important because it's going to represent the town and the community, this entity or person or consultant. And they're going to have to answer questions, gather a lot of information. So the next step is going to be extremely important.
Okay.
I just want to deliver kind of a final comment. Again, an echoing of the thanks that we have as a task force to all the people that came out and participated in the process. I hear everybody on the board. They're absolutely correct that the process going forward has multiple steps. It's going to take time, and there is going to be a process for that. Just as a matter of communicating clearly, this task force was put together with the absolute sole responsibility of conducting a community conversation and fairly summarizing what people said and present it to the mayor and the town council and the elected leaders. So that is what's going to happen. Now, the great part about this process was it started from a terribly painful event, but the conduct and the character of the people of Stratford came out loud and clear. And we communicated and cooperated with each other in the face of difference of opinion. And I am asking every single one of you to bring that again during this entire process. It's what the town needs. We don't need, conflict over common desire. And I'd like to thank everybody involved. I appreciate the opportunity to participate in the process. And again, I'm going to thank the staff, Mary Dean, Susmitha Atoda, Patrick Carlton from MetroCog, who did a great deal of the work writing this down, and everybody involved. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? All right. Well received. Thank you and congratulations. Thank you.